I'm gonna start doing it. I'm gonna start breaking down Game of Thrones. Um, was this show bad? No. It was very well done. Okay, it is just very complex, so to speak. Okay, there's a lot of people talking about it, but there's a lot of people talking about it wrong. And I am here to put some people on the right track. And I am going to just break it down little by little. This is going to be my first breakdown. Okay, it's not going to be an easy thing to do. There's so many things that we've got to try and work out. So basically the first thing I'm going to do is bring out some concepts for how to go about treating Game of Thrones in the way that it's constructed as a story. So basically, if you do like the mysteries of Game of Thrones to remain, or if you would like the mysteries of Game of Thrones to remain, don't watch this video, okay? It's gonna break down a few illusions that are there, so you'll see the story more clearly. So if you don't want that to happen and you'd like to find it on your own, then look away now. But if you are someone that's struggling to understand Game of Thrones and you want to move on and understand it a little bit more, keep watching. Okay, so every good story is built around some concepts. Okay, so finding these concepts will probably make you understand Game of Thrones a little bit more. So so we've got three concepts that I have found. Okay, one is religion, and how that one works is basically it is all around believing. Okay, so what you believe in. So this works with the characters in Westeros only. Okay, so don't think about anyone over in Essos at the moment. Okay, so basically what this means is every character in Westeros should be treated as believing their own things through the course of the journey from the start of the season to the very end. Okay, this means they have their own will. Okay, so every character needs to be treated as such. So this means that the dialogue that is used by each character shouldn't be seen as anything more than their personal beliefs at the time in the situation that they are in. So basically when someone says something to another character, that doesn't mean that that is a conversation, so to speak. That is more of, this is what I believe, no, this is what I believe, and then it builds up from there. That's how the conversations work in Westeros. Okay, so it's not a direct conversation going, we're going to go over here, we're going to attack over there, and then they're going to say, yep, we're going to go over there and do it. Okay, so it doesn't work like that. It doesn't drive the story in that way. Okay, so first concept for you is to treat every character in Westeros, when they're having a conversation, to treat it as dialogue of their own personal beliefs. Okay, so basically that is why the dialogue is so confusing at times. Okay, so basically it's what they decide to take out of what the message was from the person before. So basically they might consider it a different message basically than what is actually being said, and the person who's saying it may be conveying a different message than what is actually said in words. So that is a really cool concept for what they've done there, and it's what confuses a lot of people. So then we move on to our next concept, and it's how they use the passages of time to tell their tale. So we've got the past, the present, and the future. So every single character in this show is tied to each of these concepts of time in their own way. So they all have their different connections to the past, different connection to the present, and different connection to the future. Okay, so they're all moving with those things in mind. Okay, but what we have also is three characters that are tying each of these concepts individually. So we get a bit of a jab because they are tied. So all of this is tied together by three characters: Jon, Arya, and Bran. So we know from basically I know very early on that Bran is basically the past. So everything that he goes through is basically because of what the past wants from him. So basically he is never taking anything, he's not like getting involved in anything that's happening in the here and now, and he's not looking forward into the future. So he's always in the past. And he says that countless times during the show as well. So basically Bran is an exact what do you say, an exact, well, the human embodiment of that passage of time. So he is the past. So then we've got Arya, who comes in during the long night, and she becomes the embodiment of the present, so the here and now, hence why she kills the Night King. And then Jon, later on at the very end, we discover that he is the embodiment of the future. So this is why he couldn't kill the Night King, only the present could. So that's why Arya kills the Night King. So that's another cool concept, okay? And if you go back and you watch each of these characters' individual journeys, you will always see that Jon reacts to the things that are going to happen later, or what could happen later. He's always moving forward in that manner. That's what he's thinking about when he takes the actions that he does. Arya is always moving with the flow of time. She is never going ahead of it, and she is never going back. So anything that may trap her, she's not going to allow that to happen. Or anything that she's already done, she's not going to stick around, okay? So that's another cool concept, and we know that Bran is stuck in the past. Okay, we know that he becomes the Three-Eyed Raven. So basically, this is why Arya gets to kill the Night King. This is why Jon has to decide to kill Daenerys, because it doesn't match up with how he goes about the future, okay? How he perceives the future. So because he is actually perceiving the future as a living embodiment of the future, if the future Daenerys doesn't want matches up with his, he's going to have to, which he did, okay? And then what else was there? We have Bran. So the use of the dialogue when he goes, "Why do you think I came all this way?" is him saying why all the journeys that have come before, not just his, all of the past has led right there. Why do you think he came all that way? Okay, the dialogue, okay? Don't think of it as, people saying things as a literal meaning, okay? Okay, and the last one to help try and work out Game of Thrones is you have to treat it as a game, okay? And that game is chess. So what the writers have done is so good, they've actually made the viewing audience piece together the game, and then actually have to create the pieces to place on the right boards, and then they have to play the game of chess, working it out where each piece fits, okay? But most people haven't gotten that, okay? And I took on the challenge, I found it out, and then we went there. But the thing is, it's just not easy, okay? It's not just one game of chess, okay? We've got multiple boards of chess, and then each board gets answered or played out until we get to the very final. And that's where the new board is being built. So basically, we start with the existing game of chess that's already in motion, okay? The battle for the Iron Throne. So whenever one king gets knocked off, another king takes his place, and the game keeps on going, okay? Just like a normal game of chess, okay? The pieces never change. But the thing is, they want to change it. So they've got to build the freaking planes. I hate living where I live. Okay, so basically, get back on it, okay? So the first game is the one that's already in motion, so the battle for the Iron Throne, and then we've got the next game of chess that they're building, which is the new game that is going to replace the old one. And then we've got the personal games of chess that each character plays against each other to try and better their position in the world. Then we've got the game of chess, their own personal game of chess that you get in life all the time, which is your choices in life that lead you to death or makes you live longer, but death is always going to catch up to you. And that's an important game when they go and deal with the Night King, because everyone gets a real life encounter with death, so they all get lessons to learn about how to handle death when it's knocking on your door. And then we've got the Divine Beyond game of chess, and then that is the one where the Lord of the Light is recruiting people into his ranks to face the presence of death. So basically the Night King, and that's what the Night King is. He's a presence of death, and we learn about his presence throughout the course of the show. Okay, we learn why his presence exists, we learn what his presence means, like we are aware of his presence by the corpse circles that he leaves around. Okay, we find out how to remove his presence, and we find out how to deter his presence, and then we find out later what his presence is trying to get to. He's trying to get to the past, because death can't exist in the past, it has already happened, hence why he wants to remove it. Concept. And then you go and look at the long night, okay, and think of it as a game of chess. You'll start to see that things start to fall into place a little bit more, okay, but then you've got to understand the beliefs, okay, of each individual character. So basically when you start looking at it as a chess game, you need to understand that everyone has their own beliefs. So you've got to understand this is why the Dothraki are doing what they are doing. You've got to understand this is why the Unsullied are doing what they are doing. You've got to understand this is why the Army of the North is doing what they're doing. Okay, so those three groups out the front are our pawns. Okay, so this is why. And then you can go back to the episode before, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and you can go and look at Jon's monologue and what is it, a montage, basically the montage of his monologue, basically when he's talking about the dead. It comes across as him warning them not to go about fighting the dead in the ways that they normally would, so the Dothraki aren't heeding the warning, because no one can lead the Dothraki in a way that can change the way they go about doing things, okay? They only follow someone who is a symbol of power, okay? And then when they are overthrown, they will find another one to follow. So this is why at the end they're probably following the Unsullied, okay? So that's them. And then the Unsullied are do or die, basically. They will not break at all. And then you have the Army of the North. As soon as the first wave of whites came down, you could see some people tailing it, okay? They've got their own will, okay? That's why they got to be told to hold their ground. That's why they got to be told to retreat, or they just do it on their own. So Sam did that when Ed died. So you see, the pawn group is there, and then we have our main group of characters behind the walls already, or on the dragons, okay? And they all learn their own individual lesson for dealing with death. So why Daenerys goes crazy is because she is unable to pay the price of death, okay? She is unable to deal with what death costs her, okay? So she can't pay it, okay? So that's why she goes off the rails, okay? Death is taking everything that she loves, okay? Death takes away what she believes in, like her ability to claim the Iron Throne, because it looks like the Dothraki are all dead, but it's basically what the Dothraki are believing in at the time that extinguishes their weapons. It's not the fact that they're all dead, but we all think that, and that's what Daenerys thinks at the same time. But this is why there are so many of them left afterwards, okay? Can't wield a flaming sword if you don't believe, okay? So Daenerys thinks they're all dead, okay? That's crippled her army, and then she bails on the initial plan, okay? But Jon never does. That's why he never strays from what he needs to do in the whole entire battle. He is always going to where he needs to be, because he is thinking ahead, okay? Like the future, okay? So pretty cool so far. So basically every single character learns their own thing, So basically we get the answer for the prophecy if we follow this, but then the prophecy can still mean it answers itself at the very end, so the very last episode, because everything that we learn about the prophecy here is also what's needed to make a new world. So you've got to sacrifice your lands and your titles, so we know that you have to sacrifice in order to beat death. Okay, so you know you have to be brave to have a new world, so stand up for what you want, which is what Sansa did when she wants the North to be their independent. Okay, so it all works out eventually. Okay, so it's a very complex show, and to break it down like completely is like gonna take forever. Okay, like it's gonna take longer than, you know, planes flying over my goddamn house. Yeah, I hope that some of this information is helpful. Okay, but the thing is, to break it down would be to take, it's just a nightmare to break it down. Okay, but basically you've got to treat it like chess. Okay, so you've got to treat the Divine Beyond game like chess. That is the first chess game. Okay, that's the chess game that's been built fully for everyone to appreciate. You treat it like a chess game, you work out what all the pieces are there for, and then you can move on to the end chess game. So everyone who was stuck on the original board needs to be removed, and that's why Daenerys has her hissy fit. She goes all the way back to where she began. Okay, so basically she is stuck in the past, basically, with what happened. She is stuck on that throne because she can't get over the death of her father. Okay, if she could let that go, she could move forward, but she can't, so she's stuck there. So that's why she wants the throne so badly. So even when she gets it, but that's not enough, she can move on to the future now because she's got power behind her. She never had that at the start either. So this is all where it all comes into place. Everything you know to build the pieces that are there at the very end, and why they either need to be taken out or they are not taking part in the game at all, like Arya or Jon, because their presence of time always needs to be moving, so they can't stay stagnant on a board that isn't moving, where Bran can. But Bran can't decide that he wants to be king because he is the embodiment of the past. He can only be given the crown. Okay? So people have to give him the crown. He doesn't want it though, but people are going to give it to him. So he's just going to wear it anyway. But he doesn't need to say, I want the crown. Okay? He doesn't have those emotions anymore. Okay? Because no emotions exist in the past. Okay? Only knowledge does, and lessons. Hence why he makes a good king. Okay? So you can go through this with all the characters. You can find out their own individual flaws and what makes them who they are, and then you can work out what's happened with Game of Thrones. So the story is good, it's not bad, but it is also very complex, so you have to put a lot of time into it, like you would trying to play an actual game of chess. Okay, you don't rush your move or you might make the wrong one. So basically, if you're making the wrong one throughout the course of the show, you're going to get more and more lost. Okay, so it's all about being patient. It's all about watching every single episode from start to finish, and watching them all, and then working things out together, and not judging everything as one single episode, because this show doesn't get told in that way. Okay, not every show is the same, and Game of Thrones is not. That's why it's been so interesting to watch for the last decade. Okay, so basically it's all a show, so the audience has to tell it. So that means they have to play the game. Okay, so everything that's been constructed has been done for the fans, and this is why the creators of the show shouldn't be getting told that they're incompetent with their work that they do. They are far smarter than what people are giving them credit for. What they have done is so well done that even I had to think about it and think about it and think about it before I even got to where I am now. So, and even then, I haven't even broken down. Like, this is just chipping away at the ice, okay? There's a lot more down there, okay? There's a lot more metaphoric things that happen as well. So it's all about what you believe that to mean. That was just a brief ranting, okay? Basically, it's got a few ideas in there about what's happened with Game of Thrones. I don't know how long an actual breakdown is going to be, but if you treat the long night like a game of chess, with the pawns out the front and all the main pieces out the back, and then you look at what they're doing throughout the course, you treat the dialogue as beliefs, okay, and not as actual story-driven content. You also got to increase the speed in which you go from one scene to the other. So as soon as one scene happens and it goes back, then that means that scene is taking place in like really quick time. So make sure you're not going, oh, that's nice and slow, and then, oh, what are they doing? Why aren't they, manning the walls? That's because as soon as the retreat came back, they get behind and then they've already pushed through because of the delay in lighting the trench. That trench is no longer a diversion in which John hoped it to be. It is more of an obstacle. So as soon as we see the Night King, he's pushing his army through. So that's why they're so, but shield, okay? The shield that guards the realm of men. That's what the pawns are, okay? And then every scene that we see the shield, that's them showing that the shield is getting weaker and weaker and weaker. So it increases the tension, basically, if you're watching it in that type of frame of mind. So when I was watching, I was like, are they gonna get the Night King? Who the hell's getting the Night King? And I didn't even think Arya was gonna get the Night King, because I was under the impression of everything is not literal, okay? Everything is metaphoric. So when she gets told blue eyes, I'm like, is she gonna kill the dragon? And then when she came out and went, I was like, well, cool, the Night King died. But there are answers as to why, okay? And I think I found them. So, yeah, stop saying the show is bad. It is not, okay? It's only bad because you don't want to take the time to understand it. And you should always do that before you say something is bad. Alright, that's my first take of what's happened with Game of Thrones. I hope you have learned a little bit. More than happy to answer questions if anyone's got any questions relating to Game of Thrones, with stuff that they may want to learn about Game of Thrones, but I'm not going to answer stupid questions of what isn't really related to Game of Thrones, okay? So don't try and be, a smart ass, basically. I won't listen to those types of, questions. So basically anything like plot armor and all that, if you're talking about that, okay, there is no plot armor in this, okay? It's all basically why you believe a rock didn't break behind Jon, okay? Is that because that the Lord of the Light is protecting him during that, transition in time? I mean, is that why he is also protected from Drogon as well? Because he's actually the embodiment of the future, so the Lord of the Light is not going to destroy him? Or is it because Drogon was given to, the people of the world because the Lord of the Light knew they needed some assistance, so the birth of the dragons came from the Lord of the Light? So basically there's all these things that come down to what you want to believe in, and that's why plot armor does not exist in Game of Thrones. It's just your lazy mind thinking about it, okay? Oh, that's plot armor just because he doesn't die and he's the main character. There's other forces at work that can explain it, okay? So I've got to stop ranting, okay? I've got to stop ranting. I'm just annoyed at the amount of people that are bagging out this show, okay? Basically, it's not bad, it's just a little complex, okay? Take some time to reevaluate your understanding of things, okay? And if you don't know, okay, if you don't get Game of Thrones, okay, from the very beginning, instead of coming out, or basically use this for like the next show that comes out and you don't understand it. Instead of ranting that it's bad when it's not, how about you just start asking questions as to what is going on, and you might actually get given the answers. Because at the moment, the whole cast and crew of Game of Thrones and even Star Wars are having a grand old time adding fuel to the fire that has been caused by this. Okay, and basically they're not going to tell you anything because they created something for you to work out. And I'm out of here now. Bye bye.